mean, Saru, lovely that you can join us today for a chat. So for everybody that doesn't know Saru, Saru is a wellbeing expert, so a speaker, coach, workshop facilitator. She does a lot of work around embodied leadership. And this is all about helping leaders eliminate burnout and activate their innate power and vitality. That sounds so amazing, Saru. So thank you for joining us. I'd love to know if we could start off just with your background and sort of how you got into this work.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Patricia, for the intro. First of all, how I define a leader is at an individual level, I think we all are leaders. I really want to really make that quite point. I mean, it's not just, even though I work with more upper management and above, but I feel this is related to anyone because we all are somewhere leading our careers, our lives. And a lot of times people think leadership is only just someone who is leading others. So that's a very important point to make. How I got into this work, I come from a very strong corporate background. I was born in India, but I have pretty much lived more than half of my life in US and Australia, and working in companies like KPMG, having a background in tax and having an MBA, and then working in first tax and then banking. I have a very wide net of experience and understanding of what happens in the corporate world and what it feels like when I'm in the middle of the whole thing and how to juggle and balance that elusive balance in life, which is balance between work and home and family life and health, and trying to figure out the burnout and the stress and the chronic fatigue and all of those symptoms we go through, which is like addictions, like, whole week working like crazy where I can't even get out. And then on the weekend, I'm like, I just want to binge watch TV, or I just want to go out for drinking. So I don't have to, I can numb myself in some ways. So I've gone through that. And I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now. I absolutely loved my career. I won't lie, I was not one of those people who wanted to leave the corporate career to go out and and thought life would get better the other side. I just stumbled upon it, for lack of a better word. It just started happening because my journey started when I was super ambitious and I was working long hours because I wanted to, and also sometimes my job required, because we look for the dream of like something's going to get better towards the other end once I reach the next goal. But I couldn't understand why my health was not, like I would constantly feel this fatigue. And even though I was exercising, I was eating right, like there were times when I was not doing it, but then there was other times when I was doing everything. I still couldn't find the health I wanted. And when I started my own journey, trying to find answers over the 10 years, living in different countries, changing jobs, I kept experiencing that this part of me, I would still carry along with me everywhere I went. And there was a time in between when I did have my own career as well. Before I had this, which was my own business, I started a health and wellness company. This was 8 years ago, which was Living Fit, which was like a big model before the health fitness app started to look at how can we help, like, people, if we have a model where everything is in an app. And 6 months into it, I experienced the same fatigue again. So I was like, oh, something is missing. Like, I'm here, a health expert who's going to team up with all the experts in the world, health coaches, and having studied health coaching, and then osteopaths and running coaches, and I still am not able to. And that's what really led me to my journey of exploring what's missing in my health, what's going on, having the best experts of naturopaths on hand, trying Ayurveda. Nothing was working. And that's where I ended up discovering on my own what needed to shift. And then I went into the real journey of starting to navigate my body. And this is where my work this was 8 years since then, what I'm doing now, which is, as you've already described.
Thanks, Saru. That's it's always fascinating to hear people's stories, and that the old tale of the dark night of the soul and finding enlightenment through suffering. We hear it again and again on this video series, and it's wonderful to see that you have discovered something and you're working in an area that we can see really lights you up. And yeah, we're excited to hear more about it. We'll get into the feeling into the body when we kind of loop back, but I think maybe to set the foundation first, in your work, what are you finding is not working with wellness in the workplace? So, why are the programs and solutions that we're implementing, why are they not working, or at least working on a permanent basis?
Yeah, great question. And so similar way in my journey when I realized, right, and this is what I realized over the time as well, working in corporate and afterwards, a lot of the models which have been created, first of all, there are a couple of things. A lot of the practitioners who are creating the models, they themselves have not been in the corporates. So what happens is we are missing a lot of the basic information. That's the number one, because what I'm going through, it's easy to come from the outside and give advice. And I was doing the same at that time when I was in my own journey, where it's like, why isn't this working for me? Is something wrong with me? Like, obviously, I'm trying everything. I'm pushing myself. I'm reading books like Growth Mindset. I'm doing everything. But there's still something is missing. Something must be wrong with me. I am not good enough. That's a constant thing. And then because no one talks about it, and we already have such a shame around this word, I'm not good enough, and this feeling we don't want to feel. So we kind of suppress that. So it's like a big, almost like I call this thing the bigger pandemic than anything else, which is something which we kind of have learned to suppress. And why, and the second point, why in my experience it's not working is that if I don't know what I'm actually facing, the problems that are unique to me, yes, they're common for everyone, but they are unique to me, and there is no place for me to actually even see what's happening within me, how will I be able to even negate? Like, how will I be able to even navigate? And this is what I experience as well. So
there's like a foundation of deep self-awareness that is missing.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. It's like a foundation of self-awareness. And I know we talk such big words like everyone, I hear these words, we need to be self-aware. But self-awareness starts with body. It starts with awareness of my needs. It starts with awareness of my problems, not at the cognitive, like what's happening, at really what's happening within me. And this is something I experienced for myself when I would go to a practitioner at that time, and practitioner, I mean health experts with my problems. A lot of the solutions were given were generic solutions. Let's do this, let's do that, rather than something that's unique to me. Or how do I find the solution in moment to moment? Because a lot of the problems that are being faced are actually simple before they become bigger. So if you look at the current problems in the corporate world, let's look at the corporate world. The current problems people are facing is they're not able to have work-life balance. They're not able to speak for their needs. They're not able to communicate, when something is not okay with them. And that communication cannot come if there is no self-awareness happening in the body, that I'm not okay with what is in front of me. Now that somewhere answer that question, it's just like, it's as simple as that. First of all, it starts with, and then we can build up on other things like you need a breathing technique, you need more regulation. But if one is not even aware of what's happening within oneself, how do you know what to use? And that's when it leads to burnout, because we keep negating the basic signals. So in the simplest way, it comes from the body intelligence. What's missing is activating individual body messages and body intelligence. And that cannot happen from the mind. It cannot happen from the intellect.
I resonate with that so well, because I think also being in the corporate world, or maybe it's even starting from school, there's a lot of problem solving from your sort of mind that you have to do in order to solve problems, and you're rewarded a lot for it. So yeah, there was that shift that I had to go through, which is actually listening more to my own body, and sort of the embodiment work or the somatic work, which has been really sort of amazing. So I can appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I can appreciate that a lot of the wellness solutions are just sort of at that cognitive, like logical, rational problem solving, but it might not be the best for everybody.
I'd love
Completely.
To comment as well, real quick. Sorry, like say, and yeah, I echo Patricia. It really resonates for me too. We were talking earlier that I've just come back from retreat, and I work in a similar way in like helping people build a fundamental self-awareness first and connect to their body, because time after time the people who are like in the corporate world or the professionals who come on retreat with me have either been conditioned to very intentionally disassociate from their bodies so that they can work in corporate, right? So that they can keep going. Don't listen to your body, don't listen to the signs, because that's going to get in the way of performance.
And you look so grounded today, Laura.
Glowing.
Completely. And I want to just add another point to that. So, and I'm glad you said that, Laura, where you said, like, helping them with the basics first. See, even before, like, I know there's a lot of somatic solutions that are being created now, which is like, um, deeper work you can do with the practitioner, right? But I'm talking about even the basic step of learning to first, on daily basis, cultivate that body awareness. And it's like it actually has to be along with that, because otherwise what happens is a lot of times you will go to a practitioner, it'll be a temporary solution, because one is still not learning to decode the messages from the body day-to-day basis. So it's the same way, like, we can go for a meditation course and come back, or go for a vacation and you come back and all your problems are still there. And this is what sometimes is missing. It's like, how do you activate and cultivate? And that's where I really I help people with first learning to, along with whatever else you're doing, support you're getting, learning to start activating that on daily basis, almost reassociation with your body. Number one. Number two, I as much as I think it's just the corporations, I feel this starts from way before that. Way before that. It's like from a younger age, because of how we learn to cope. And of course, our parents, that generation did not have that much knowledge as we have in some ways, where, they didn't have time. It was a different world, where we are now. I feel it starts way before, because I've seen this in the medical community as well. Working with medical practitioners, like doctors who are my clients, I've experienced the same there as well. So it's not just, I think it's just the way the whole world operates. It's just the way the world, not everyone operates like that, but a lot of systems are based on that cognitive thinking, because companies who are creating systems as well, individuals create systems. I really believe that. We are the ones who are creating companies. If they are in cognitive way, they're going to create systems that are very cognitive based as well. And it's, so somewhere, I'm a big believer in the companies to take responsibility, but the individuals need to take responsibility as well. So it's like the self-responsibility comes somewhere where we can find a middle path for everyone, rather than that culture where one is blaming the other and the other is blaming. So like, I see that a lot, and there is no real solution there.
Yeah. I understand that. Go ahead, Patricia.
I mean, I was going to ask a little bit more around, what have you seen? Say, you mentioned medical practitioners. So what have you seen with these groups of people? And I guess through your work, what have you noticed is different?
So you mean after they've worked with me? Yeah. So in the last couple of years, I've actually had the privilege. I feel grateful that, somehow I did end up working with doctors from different fields and some nurses. And now the work is going to really shift into the medical community because I really experienced this. And it's been, I experienced such a big disassociation from their bodies. And I get it because the kind of work they do, it requires a lot of responsibility to be responsible for someone else's life. And they are not, and the medical community, and this is something that doctors have said themselves, they're not taught how to actually be in the body and do the work because it's too painful. They have to somehow disassociate. There is no other way because our systems are still catching up to how do we learn to stay in the body and actually function. So what I have experienced, so some of them have worked with me for a year, and there's a complete different way of operating where there is more humanness activated. More than that, they can actually see their own needs. So for example, when before some of these nurses who have long hours and doctors, their schedules are crazy. This was during COVID as well. They would forget their basic needs. They need to go and have water. And yes, they can tell that they can have all the to-do lists. And I know these things sound simple, but they're not. This shows how disassociated they are from their bodies, that they are so burnt out that they can't even pay attention to the basic things that system is, because somewhere they have been brainwashed. And yes, they can blame the medical community. But again, the medical community comes from who's created medical communities? It's the doctors themselves over a period of time. So after working with me over a year, the changes have been mind-blowing. Completely healed big health issues. Like I've had clients who've healed their endo completely. No symptoms. They might still, even their naturopaths are shocked what's happened. And the reason that starts shifting is because they're looking at their emotional health. They're looking at how to land in the body. What does it actually mean to start feeling? Start slowing down, not because your mind is telling you need to slow down. But now the body is like giving its own wisdom and intelligence. How to start showing up in relationships from that space, how to get your needs met. And the shift starts happening where their relationship with their client starts shifting. They are not that burnt out. There's a reduction of stress and they can experience real joy. Because a lot of them like come to me, they realize that when they joined the medical practice, they thought they would not be feeling like this. But now at the age of 40, they're like, this is not what they thought life would be. And after working for a while, they really start experiencing that joy because they are activating their deeper needs, which they know now how to start getting them met.
That's so powerful. It's so powerful. And, you know, you can almost see why doctors and medical personnel would disassociate because of the difficulties that they have to face day to day, and especially in the last 2-3 years, right? Some of the things they've seen and had to deal with. I'm wondering then if we could maybe for our viewers get a little taste of, you know, what does it mean to reconnect to your body? Is there a practice that people who maybe feel disassociated and disconnected from their body, is there a way that they can start that relationship, kickstart that relationship, or maybe rekindle that relationship?
Rekindle, yeah. Like if you look at kids, I love giving the example. My niece is 1 year old, and I really like, even though I was in this work before, but just seeing the joy she experiences by like touching everything, like you can feel that. Like I feel like we're all born with that thing of being, and then we just, life makes us kind of lose that. And so simplest way I think would be to actually start on daily basis. Like simplest way, yes, we can look at all the tools, we can go and reach out to different practitioners, and that's very important. Like I'm not discounting that, I feel, but simplest way if someone wants to do is start maybe twice a day, start putting an alarm on your phone for 5 minutes and start with creating, like you can start from your feet and start feeling, it's almost like scanning your body, but not listening to a music or something. Because I look at a lot of meditation apps sometimes can also be a way to run away from the presence, because we're using that in a way to kind of go away from what is happening in this moment, what's happening in my body. Can I actually guide my body on my own? And a lot of times for the first time, I remember 8 years ago when I did that, I felt complete numbness in my body. There was nothing. I couldn't even feel my feet. I thought I was feeling my feet, but really paying attention was like, whoa, I can't feel anything. So the best way to do is to slowly, steadily start giving attention like we give to a baby. Like child, you give attention and you start with feeling your feet or bringing your attention to the feet rather than feeling your feet, because that can sometimes seem so big. Bring your attention and just staying there. And then go to the next part and the next part and the next part. And this can take some time. But this is the simplest practice, doing it twice a day without any app, without anything. And in the beginning, it might feel uncomfortable. It might bring up deeper emotions, deeper things. And that's when it's very powerful to work with a practitioner. But you cannot just work with a practitioner without doing that, because then you're just looking for a solution from outside where you're not actually really bringing the change with it.
Yeah, practitioner is a great path to take if it feels maybe a bit too scary or unsafe, or there's things coming up for you that you don't feel able to deal with on your own, right? But that tiny, 5 minutes twice a day of scanning through the body from the feet up, that sounds fantastic. That's something that everyone can do.
Completely. And look, it does. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have a lot of support. I won't discount that. I did have support over the years, because whenever I did, then I started going into deeper practices and deeper sitting with the body and awareness, and it's going to bring up stuff. But I'm very big believer in that we have to do the work. I'm very big believer in that these smaller things have to happen. Sometimes even like the shortening of the breath, rather than forcing a long breath, we are taught. I don't believe in that, because that's again running away from what the body is showing. I'm trying to change it rather than seeing what the body needs. So in my work, I have clients who had deep anxiety when they started working with me. In a year, there is no anxiety at all, completely healed. Or they can ride through the wave of anxiety for 2 minutes. Because it's just the body giving you that wisdom. But to get to that, I have to be able to pay attention to what my body is saying rather than changing it. Because that's what we do, right? We are taught, do the diaphragmatic breathing, do this. So, you can calm yourself, but how can you change something if you don't even know what messages your body are giving? Because when you know the messages, and that's where the body awareness helps with, slowly, steadily. So then you will get to the root of it. Oh, do I really need to change something in my life? Why is my body giving this signal to me? And that's where a deeper work with a practitioner can help. Someone who understands all the different dimensions rather than just one dimension.
Perfect. Yeah. While you were doing that, I was busy body scanning. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more information for us out there. Like Gabor Mate also says, he was working as a physician, and he also says, that he recognizes that dissociation from our body and our sort of emotional body as well. So I feel so happy that all of this information is coming to light, and that there are really simple, easy solutions for us. I wanted to just ask about, so you got an embodied leadership course coming up, or what's your next steps, and how will you work with people?
I am working, so my work is in embodied leadership. And like I said, embodied leadership is, for me, the word embodiment is about body, being in the body, because as humans, we are born in the body. And for me, that comes first, like before we become genius, It's important we don't forget the body, because safety comes from the body. Everything comes from the body. Then I can really not forget and deny my human needs while I'm doing big work in the world. And again, I just want to say, like, I know we spoke about body awareness, but there's a lot of different components to it. Emotional awareness, and how do you navigate that landscape of all these different emotions and in the body, not just cognitively, how do you learn to navigate that? Because there's a bandwidth of how much sadness you can feel the same amount of joy. So there's a bandwidth, and there is all these attachment theories, and so that's all part of my work as well. In real life, how it
I think that's important to pause on and just and really explain, because there's a lot of people that I've worked with who don't feel the difference between a physical, visceral feeling, an emotion that's coming up in the body, and like a thought process, and don't have discernment between those three things.
Yes, and I don't know if you want to talk about it today, because it's a very big topic.
Yeah.
So I can just touch on it briefly. So there is a very big difference, and this is something I help people with. So when we talk about the resilience, what does resilience mean? It's such a mental concept, and this is where the embodied leadership work is a lot about. It's such a mental concept. Resilience can't happen from the mind. It's from the body. What is resilience? If you're not able to sit with what's happening in the system, you can't build resilience. So for example, this year, I navigated my mom's death and navigated some other aspects of life. During COVID, a lot of us navigated stuff. And it was the resilience, and that's where the nervous system was like in the freeze mode. Because we have not learned, and it's nobody's fault. This is not to put the blame on the companies or the individuals. So a lot of the wisdom, a lot of the books that are written, I sometimes personally feel it's from very cognitive, rather than doing real simple things on what does it mean to feel fear in the system. But it's not just feeling fear, how the fear can actually come in the real life. We have heard of fight, flight, freeze, but then there is fawning, then there's fragmentation, then there's collapse. But how does it land? How does it experiences in the body? So a lot of people who are thinking they have chronic fatigue, it's actually collapse happening in the body. I work that with my clients. But how do you notice that? How do you even come to know? So how in my personal relationship, because I feel safe, I might go into the system of fear response of fight, because it's safe to fight with my partner, rather than actually sharing I'm feeling sad, technically because he did something, versus at work, because I, of course, can't fight with my boss. So I'll either go into fragment, or I'll go into freeze. So this is my work where I work with embodied leaders. When I say embodied leaders, it's upper management and all, to how do you actually cultivate that resilience and that awareness in the system and change these evolutionary responses in the system. So you can feel the grief, you can feel all these emotions when they come up over a period of time. This is not a day's work. This requires 6 months. So that's where my work is, for 6 months, 6 months to 1 year. And by the time they finish the program, they're a completely changed human. Like, I really mean completely, because we are addressing emotional, mental, physical, energetic health. And then we're looking at the nervous system and the attachment theories, which are the secure attachment, and how we are responding and how it impacts every area of our life, even our work.
I love that. That sounds fantastic. We need more embodied leaders, creating more embodied organizations that are happy, healthy, and resilient from a place of body, mind, and soul, right? So how do people find you, sign up for this, like find more information, connect with you?
I think LinkedIn would be the best way. LinkedIn, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. I can share the link, below.
Yep. We'll drop that in the notes.
And then I always have programs running, and then I'm always open. I've got a lot of different programs if they want to do. It's not just like the full body, it's like cultivating body wisdom. How do you cultivate emotional awareness? And then there is, so there are different ways to work with me to deepen into this work, and more experiential work rather than cognitive. So you can really see the change from the simplest ways. And I'm very easygoing. Just get in touch with me. My email address, like, I love conversations and I love just talking about problems and finding real solutions. So different ways. And I wanted to answer what Patricia had asked, what's next for me from this? Because this work is always there and this is it, but I'm really now passionate about stepping deeper into this medical community with one of the medical practitioners and also corporations to really address the deeper issues under the words we use, like psychological safety. What does it really mean? Like, those words are not going to bring solutions. Or growth mindset. Why is burnout not really happening? Like why we are not finding solutions? Why, even though such a big mental solutions we have meant for mental health, but why there's no solution? So now I'm bringing my work, which is about emotional awareness and body and all of these work, to corporates, and it would be in speaking and workshopping, and so that's where I'm fully landing into now.
Sounds amazing, Saru, and I'm so excited for you, and please keep us updated and let us know how it's going.
Yeah, I see an embodied leadership masterclass in our future. I think we're bringing in all the people that we've spoken to. Yeah, I think there's some good stuff going to happen. And yeah, Saru, it was so great to hear from you, learn from you, and share your message with our little corner of the with the internet. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much. This was my pleasure. Like, I really enjoyed. I love having these conversations, and I can see you both are really deeply involved in this as well. So I love having conversations with fellow practitioners who want to bring change.
Good stuff. Thank you. All right. Well, check out Saru on LinkedIn, and we'll drop more ways to get in touch with her in the show notes. And that's it from us today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.